Hello everyone, and welcome to another brand new episode on my channel, Bohemian Book Club. Today I'll be talking about the book, The Upside of Your Dark Side, written by Biswas-Diener and Todd Kashdan. In The Upside of Your Dark Side, the authors challenge the conventional advice from happiness experts, who advocate suppressing negative emotions in favor of mindfulness, positivity, and optimism. The authors argue that positive emotions alone are insufficient. They highlight that anger fuels creativity, selfishness fosters courage, and guilt serves as a strong motivator. The true path to success, they propose, lies in emotional agility. Supported by extensive scientific research and diverse real-life examples, The Upside of Your Dark Side offers valuable insights for business leaders, parents, and anyone eager to leverage their full range of psychological resources. Before moving ahead, please don't forget to subscribe to my channel. Part 1. Happiness can hinder performance and accuracy. It is generally accepted that a positive, happy mood produces better business outcomes. However, it may not always be the case. Attracting good customer and supervisor evaluations are certainly helpful in assessing performance outcomes, but they don't always mean better performance. Talking in terms of persuasive capabilities, happy people tend to score less than the unhappy ones. Sometimes, if you want to persuade others, you have to do it in a detailed and concrete way. Happy people typically prioritize the big picture, but at the expense of smaller details, which can make their arguments less impactful and nuanced. Many research studies have found that people who are unhappy come up with better and more original arguments than those who are happy. This was discovered by asking both types of people to create an argument about issues like the allocation of tax dollars, the existence and non-existence of soulmates, etc. These results showed that unhappy people were 25% more convincing than the happy ones. Research has also shown that happier people are more gullible, and are more likely to learn false facts, because they're willing to believe anything. It's no secret that people tend to be less inclined to check out details when they're happy. But if you want a clue about deceit, then you may want to pay closer attention. In an experiment, participants watched tape recordings of people denying they had stolen something. Happy participants were able to identify the liars 49% of the time, while unhappy people detected 62% of the frauds. Also, when asked about a certain memory or fact, people who were happy were more likely to remember something that had never been shown to them. Part 2. Pursuing happiness and being happy are two different things. Happiness can feel so good that it's only natural to try to do anything possible to bring a little more of it every day. However, the more you try and brighten your spirits, the worse they seem to get. It's been proven that pursuing joy can make people feel less joyful in the short term. These people are more focused on their happiness, so they miss out on some of the things their life should be giving them. Pursuing happiness alone can be self-centered and distracting. It takes the focus off of other people's needs too easily, and you miss out on being a helpful person in your community. In fact, it can actually make you feel worse about your own life down the line. When you start to focus on increasing your own happiness, you may avoid contact with a friend who is troubled. As a result, this friend might consider you less of a friend, and not want to spend as much time with you. You might end up with a lonely life without happiness. It's possible that people who focus on being happy actually feel more alone than others with less happiness. It's the people around us, like friends, partners, children, etc., that make us happy. Therefore, valuing happiness over relationships can make us unhappy in the long run. Part 3. Anxiety makes us more vigilant. We all aspire to live a life that's free of anxiety. However, sometimes anxiety can be really beneficial. Anxiety is good in that it helps prepare us for dangerous situations. There are many benefits to this, such as having a performance boost and being able to make better decisions. Anxiety might make people far more vigilant than their non-anxious counterparts. The reason behind this is that the anxious brain is stimulated more quickly, and the person then feels more alert than others. Also, anxiety can heighten people's power of perception. For example, research has shown that your auditory senses are more heightened when you're anxious, and you can even see further. Furthermore, anxious people tend to react quickly and try to find solutions when they feel threatened. Anxiety often means that your perception of negative events is more intense, which actually makes you more motivated to collect important information and to find a solution. Part 4. Anger can increase your creativity. Although anger is seen as a negative emotion and is considered best avoided, it can sometimes work to our benefit. Anger can sometimes help improve creativity. For example, you might find yourself coming up with more original ideas after dealing with angry people. Anger can help an individual appear to be more confident and authoritative. It's natural for people to see someone in an angry state as being more powerful than someone who is calm. Therefore, demonstrating anger could potentially give you leverage during negotiations. Angry outbursts can also be effective at motivating an ineffective team to work together again. They shouldn't happen all the time though, and should only be used selectively. Part 5. Guilt can sometimes be a beneficial emotion. For most of us, guilt isn't a great emotion to explore. Yet, it provides us with so much benefit and insight that sometimes there are good reasons to be feeling it. Guilt motivates people to fix the problems they caused and make amends where possible. Not only is guilt a terrible feeling to experience, but it can also result in damaging your relationships with people. So, to avoid this, and the actions that might cause you guilt, it seems we're motivated to respect moral boundaries. For example, adults who experience feelings of guilt are much less likely to conduct certain bad behaviors, such as drug use, drunk driving, assaults, and theft. Shame, on the other hand, might not prove to be as useful an emotion as guilt. Whether you consider an emotion a blessing or a curse will depend on the context. Shame, however, does more harm than good. When we feel shame, we tend to try and hide the source of our shame in order to feel better. Guilt, on the other hand, makes us want to take responsibility for anything unfortunate that has happened because of us, even if it was unintentional, regardless if there is anyone looking. Part 6. Narcissism can be useful. What are some negative traits that people find bad? Among them would be excessive admiration seeking and a grandiose sense of self-importance. These traits are typical of a narcissistic personality and are detestable by most of us. However, these seemingly negative traits can prove to be advantageous and even desirable when it comes to personal success. Narcissists are more likely to achieve their ambitious goals which could sometimes be difficult or a struggle for others. They are not easily deterred from pursuing this action, because they don't feel regret or second thoughts when it comes to wanting something. Also, people with narcissistic tendencies are unlikely to become overtaken by self-doubt, even when their ambition faces a daunting challenge, or they're outmatched by others. They're willing to give anything and everything they can to succeed. Furthermore, narcissism can boost your creative skills. Narcissists are convinced of their superiority and individuality, and often do not heed the common conventions, or the assumptions of others. They're not as constrained by a set of rules or judgments from others. This means they can consider ideas that might otherwise seem strange or unprofitable. This also allows them to have a lot of creative freedom. Part 7. How psychopathic traits can make you a better leader. Popular culture often depicts psychopaths as notorious serial killers. However, in real life, psychopaths are much less likely to kill or abuse others. Psychopathy is commonly characterized by overconfidence, a lack of guilt and empathy, shallow emotions, and a willingness to blame others for their faults. It can also involve lying or manipulating for selfish interests. While most of these seem like overtly negative and undesirable personality traits, psychopathic behavior can actually be a lifesaver in certain situations. Psychopaths, for instance, are much more apt at handling crisis situations. In difficult situations like a terrorist attack or natural disaster, non-psychopaths tend to feel overwhelmed with strong negative emotions such as fear or anger, which make it difficult for them to react promptly. Psychopaths, on the other hand, have a knack for adapting to situations, and seem unbothered by what is going on around them. They also have an emotional core that is considerably shallow, which makes it easier for them to assess the crisis situation more objectively. Part 8. Mindlessness can help us make better decisions. In today's world, mindfulness is like a magic concept that everyone talks about. Self-help books often talk about living in the moment and focusing on what's happening without judgment. Moreover, research demonstrates that practicing mindfulness can enhance your physical and mental health, improve the quality of life, and even impact brain health. So, why is it so difficult being mindful? It's because our brains have more avenues for unintended thoughts than for intended ones. As a result, our brains are constantly processing large amounts of unimportant data unconsciously, whereas consciously we can process only a few bits of information. The opposite of mindfulness is mindlessness, which includes everything from absent-mindedness to impulsive, or even instinctual behavior. Simply stated, it's acting without prior consideration. But is mindlessness even a good thing? Well, it seems that mindless processing is usually beneficial for complex situations. Our unconscious minds have much more computing power available than our conscious minds, which allows us to process data quickly and make better decisions. While many people think that happy and mindful people are examples to follow, there are also other emotions such as anger, sadness, and worry that help us in our hour of need. These emotions can actually provide valuable insight and motivation for the individual pursuing their goals. The thing is, the good life can't be achieved without the benefits that come from dealing with emotions like fear and anger, and also tough stuff like dealing with relationships, death, or other dark aspects of life. Negative emotions can suggest deep insight and make people stronger leaders, while improving their creativity and overall quality of life. Thank you for watching this episode. Please don't forget to subscribe. Your comments, likes and shares are highly appreciated. See you soon in our next episode.